The University of Missouri is home to numerous labs, but the Department of Human Development and Family Science, or HDFS, is perhaps one of the most extensive and historic that you can find. From education to research, HDFS focuses on the science of being human through interactions with family members, teachers, schools, peers, social media, and romantic partners. I'm Rachael Norden, and in this episode of Thinking Out Loud, we visit with doctors Shinyoung, Jeon, and Aileen Garcia on National Childcare Provider Appreciation Day, or Provider Appreciation Day, happening May 8th in just a few days. It's a day facilitated by the National Association of Family Child Care, or NAFCC, celebrated around the world to recognize the work of childcare providers, teachers, and other educators of young children. Let's get into it.
This celebration is really to highlight the work of childcare providers, and I think it's very symbolic that they attach it very close to Mother's Day because, they are partners in raising children, they're partners of parents, and so I think it's very good that we have started appreciating our childcare providers even more.
Yeah. I had mentioned before we started recording that I had previously recorded for an interview of National After School Appreciation Day, and I had to think to myself just to separate the two for a minute, because you just so often think of childcare inherently being something that's, after school, but it's not. Childcare is happening all the time, all hours of the day, all ages. So this really is a very wide celebration of childcare individuals and professionals, it sounds like.
Right. And actually, when you look it up online, you will see different labels for this day. Some would say it's National Provider Appreciation. So that includes childcare providers, after school program providers, teachers, and so on and so forth. But some would specify it's just childcare providers. So I think one of the main difference would be the age group of the kids they cater. So typically when you say your early childhood or childcare provider, that's 0 to 5. And then school age care would be those school age children, kindergarten and older. So that is the main difference. But I totally get what you're saying, because even in the literature and even in practice, we don't know how to integrate both. I've been working with professionals in different states, and they have the same thing. How do we define after school network, or how do we define childcare? Does childcare include after school work, and so on and so forth?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I guess we don't really need a clear definition.
I mean, they're all worth celebrating.
Right?
They're all very much worth celebrating. So, I guess through the lens of after school care, we have our after school programs, etc. What falls under the umbrella of child care? I mean, beyond parenting, beyond just being there for children, what exactly are we celebrating during this time?
So childcare provider, this provider celebration is think about the age of children, 0 to 5. So a lot of efforts are needed to take care of these kids, and the parenting, and it's close to Mother's Day. It's teachers are almost like a mother, and then some kids are not really do the potty yet, so that a lot of potty training and a lot of kind of the supports are needed, and definitely we provide that the education and emotional supports, all that the other layer of the support a provider provides. And so we can think about more kind of younger age of kids, how that the parenting and how that the care looks different from the older age, after afternoon school, that the people can understand more visually.
Yeah. So when we look at this through, you mentioned earlier that you have some research that you've brought with you. So I'm interested, what kind of research does go into childcare, providing childcare? This is something I think a lot of people would think just comes so naturally and inherently to people, and you don't really think about the research and the time that goes into finding the best care for these individuals and programs. So tell me a little bit more about the research that goes into this.
So I started with the parenting stress, and then parenting stress, how that the impacts the parenting style is similar, like how that the provider stress that impact that their quality of care. So that I'm uh, I'm looking at that the preschool setting, and so preschool setting that one teacher has 14, 15 children in that the classroom. So they have to manage the classroom, but also they provide that education, meal, and they also do the potty training. So every kind of things within that the time with multiple kids. So that's definitely it's a stressful workforce. So how this stressful impact that their quality of care, and that can impact the child development. So that's the topic we are working on. We are studying.
So I guess what kind have you gotten any like rock solid results from that yet?
Yeah. So the finding that we got, the teachers depressive symptom like their depression and burnout that impact the quality of the childcare, specifically like interaction quality, and which means like how much they are sensitive to children's need and how they can manage the classroom and how they can and then provide the high quality instruction. So that can be linked with their mental health, and then we found that the children's developmental over a year, and which that the children who had that the teacher who have a high stress, they show like a lower developmental kind of the score, and how we measure that, and we look at that the children's academic score like a math, language, and then like executive function, which means more brain functioning, and also we look at that social emotional skill, how children can control their temper and then their anger, and then we saw that the over the year and teacher stress that impact the classroom quality, that impact the children's outcome of this area.
Yeah, I one of the things I have learned in previous interviews with your colleagues is the way that early childhood education is approached, and that's much more focused on the social and emotional development versus the academic development that comes sort of after the age of 5. When it sounds like when studying this and the stress of these childcare providers and how it might reflect to the kiddos is sort of how it shows up in that social and emotional development. And so that's where you see more of that friction show up with higher levels of stress, it sounds like. Wow, interesting.
Yeah, that for young kids, definitely we focus on social and emotional skill, but also pre-academic skill. We said like a pre-literacy, pre kind of mathematical understanding. Children are learning every moment, and so we look at that part, and also that's linked to that the providers kind of mental health and their well-being. So that our study actually focus on how we can like a support teacher, and then to get like a for them they have better kind of well-being, and how the society and a more higher level that the higher level system can support that the teacher workforce. So we totally understand that the workforce is really hard, that as a mom of 5 years old daughter, and at every moment it's just one child drain me.
I have, yes.
But the 15, 20 children, I cannot imagine.
I have all the respect for childcare providers and educators, especially post-pandemic. I feel like resources have gotten lower, and I feel like in a lot of ways it has gotten, I don't want to say harder, but I just really do just see the struggle and of parents, of childcare providers everywhere, and have so much respect for them. So I'm grateful we have these days set aside to be able to say thank you and celebrate these individuals. So is your research in the same sector?
Yeah, I do have similar research looking into like factors related to their well-being and intention to stay in the field. So maybe a bit of a background, it will be good to have for context. Like we have like a lower, or we have higher retention rates now for early childhood education providers. I believe like the last stats that I saw, it dipped during the pandemic, and it hasn't bounced back to the level before the pandemic. And there are many reasons why, right? Like, it's not the highest paying job. And so people might resort to, working something else that pays more, maybe less stressful, less responsibility, right? And then, of course, we have supports in place. We have supports from the state, from the federal government, but it's not always enough to sustain. So, like, childcare providers operate on a very thin margin. Like, they don't start this childcare business to get rich or to be a millionaire. They know that, but it's really like a passion and care for children, for their families that they serve, and for their communities. Anyway, one study that I recently concluded, it's on home-based childcare providers, and we looked at factors related to their well-being and intention to stay. And what we found was that, well-being and retention. So what we found was that intention to stay, like they wanted to be in this field. If they had a choice, will they shift to another career or will they stay? And those who said that they will stay, those who showed higher intentions of staying, they showed higher retention. It makes sense, right? I want to stay here, so I stay. But it did not equate to higher well-being. So if you think about it, it's like, some people would say, oh, it's my calling to do this work. And sometimes we equate that calling as like something that, you're doing something that you love. And of course, that equates to like happiness and satisfaction. But in that study that I found, in that study that I did, what we found was that it's not equal. It's not correlated. Like, even if they want to stay, or even if they're doing something that they love, it does not equate to higher well-being. It's a very intimate role, right? You are like what Shinyoung was saying earlier. They're not only tasked to like educate the children, prepare them for kindergarten, but you're also involved in like very intimate tasks, like again, potty training and caring for them, comforting them.
It's a huge job, and job doesn't really seem to be the
It
right
doesn't
word.
capture.
No, it doesn't. So kind of reeling back in then, as we talk about the appreciation to show these individuals, whether it be our babysitter or our mother or our father or, another individual in a childcare program that we're involved in, how would you suggest is the best way to say thank you to these individuals and show appreciation? A day off, maybe.
Maybe, yeah. They would appreciate that, like a time off, or maybe picking up your kid a little bit early than usual.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay.
I usually do write a small kind of card, like the card, how much I appreciate their kind of all the thing they do for my daughter. And so it's just like giving them my real feeling. And I really appreciate that. And I share that my I don't want to say, but my challenge to raise this child. But I totally understand your challenge and to take care of those, not just one and this kid. So kind of some empathy. I show that, and as a mom, and most of people know that how hard. So they can say how much they appreciate that during they are working or they are doing something else, that the people, the teacher provider, they take care of their kids. And that just saying that really thank you, they show their genuine, like their kind of the real feeling,
Genuine appreciation.
Genuine
Yes.
appreciation.
That was Drs. Shinyoung, Jeon, and Aileen Garcia on National Childcare Provider Appreciation Day, or Provider Appreciation Day, coming up this May 8th, just before Mother's Day. An opportunity to say thank you to hardworking folks spending tireless amounts of time with our children. So if you have a kiddo in childcare, make sure to take some time to thank your childcare provider. And if you'd like to learn more about Provider Appreciation Day, check out the link below in the description. And to learn more about HDFS and the work that they do, visit hdfs.missouri.edu. I'm Rachael Norden, and you've been listening to Thinking Out Loud from KBIA 91.3 FM.